Y'all, we love UFOs here on the channel, and you guys really enjoyed some of the true UFO stories that we shared before. So today, we're going to check out more true UFO stories that will blow your mind. Today's first true UFO story, orbiting an earthquake. 2010, Los Angeles. I was cleaning up around my apartment when I noticed my kitchen lamp swinging and my building rocking. Obviously, it was an earthquake. It lasted for a bit, and I called my friend to make sure she was okay. As we were chatting, I was standing out on my balcony, which overlooks Runyon Canyon, a popular hiking trail. I suddenly noticed this object hovering high in between the mountains. It was way too high to be a helicopter and too small and low to be a plane. What made it super strange was its shape and lack of movement. It was orb-esque and stood stagnant for a solid 3 minutes before moving at a snail's pace to the west. I'm talking slower than any aircraft, blimp, kite, whatever that I've ever seen. It also seemed to reflect off the sun, but only at some angles. After moving towards the left and then once again staying completely still, it immediately darted at what seemed like an impossible speed in the opposite direction upwards and disappeared. XC drummer chick. Whoa, honestly, as we were getting through the story and she's like, oh, it was just standing there and then it started moving at a snail's pace. I'm like, that is very strange if it can stand stagnant and then move at this snail's pace. It could even be a drone, although this happened in 2010, so we weren't really putting up drones for natural disasters just yet. It could have been an early prototype. But when she said that it started moving in different directions and then darted off at a speed she'd never seen before, I'm like, okay, wait. That's anomalous. That's wild. That's some of the 5 observables. You saw a real UFO essentially staking out an earthquake. And we've talked about before how they show up at volcanoes and they show up at natural disasters. We've even seen them show up in nuclear bomb testing. I can definitely see them arriving for earthquakes. There are these things you guys should look up called earthquake lights. Some think they're natural. This might be what is considered an earthquake light, and it makes me think that maybe these earthquake lights are actually UFOs. Next, we have a seemingly kind story of UFOs with something helped us in the swamp. I was 12 at the time, and my family has a camp on the Tangipahoa River in Louisiana. The only way you can get to it is by boat. So it was just my uncle, my cousin, and myself, and we were heading back to the boat launch on a Sunday night. Now, the boat we were in didn't have any working lights. So to see where we were going, my uncle would occasionally shoot a flare. We quickly ran out of the flares you shoot as it was around a 2-hour boat ride back to the landing. So I ended up on the front of the boat holding a regular flare as we were now on a much narrower stretch of river. To our left in the swamp, 2 large glowing orbs appeared. Then there was another one to the right. I was just trying to keep the flare from burning me, and my little cousin was freaking out. After around 10 minutes of them navigating through the swamp, they formed a triangle above us on the river. It is hard to gauge how far up they were, but it was very visible. They continued to follow us for the rest of the journey back to the landing, and as soon as we arrived, they disappeared. This all happened around 18 years ago, but is something I'll never forget. I don't talk about this stuff really, and usually keep it to myself. Skittish Gibbon. Now that is quite an interesting story, specifically because we have actually seen videos and clips of orb-like UFOs roaming around in forests and in dark areas. And from what I'm reading in this story and the way they disappeared at the end, it does seem that these orbs appeared there almost to give them a guiding light. Or maybe they were already doing something in the area and they were like, well, these people look lost. Might as well help them. Whatever the case, it did seem helpful and beneficial, and it didn't seem like it meant any harm. Although I would still say be a little worried and weary, because we do talk about and we have learned about the radiation burns and radiation poisoning that can affect people that stand or get too close to UFOs. Still, it'd be pretty cool if UFOs helped you out of a pickle, huh? Next, we have a sighting where the title makes it seem a little bit more ominous. It cast a huge shadow. This was about 40 years ago. We were camping in the summer in the woods behind a friend's house. About 11 p.m., we had to walk back to the house for something. It was a full moon, and there was plenty of light, so we didn't take our flashlights. We went out of the woods and down a long lane that went along an open pasture between the woods and the house. We got what we needed and started to walk back. The moon was behind us, over our right shoulder. We could see our shadows on the ground ahead of us from the moon. As we were walking, we saw a black circle with no lights. It just looked like a black hole in the sky. It was very low above the trees and moving toward us slowly. We all stopped. There were 4 of us, and we watched it. It came over the trees and over the pasture, and then suddenly you could see a shadow moving on the ground where the moonlight was giving the thing a shadow just like us. And it went from the northwest to the southeast and passed over us and kept going until we couldn't see it anymore. It lasted about 2 minutes. It did not make any noise. It did not look like anything, just a perfectly round black circle. It had no lights, and moonlight did not reflect off of it. Interesting. It made a shadow that was about the size of a house. I don't know how high it was because I had no detail, but it seemed very low, like a couple of 100 feet. We told our parents the next day, but no one believed us. This was in Ohio, 1982 or 1983. This is from Sort of Getting By. Wow. I find that story interesting. I'd probably be pretty chilled at the fact that it's like nighttime, we're walking towards the woods, and we see this essentially a disc of darkness flying in the sky. Very, very strange. But it made me start thinking, the gears started turning. Could this craft have had its cloaking on? Could it have been a type of cloaking mechanism that made it nearly invisible to the eye, but then it's blocking out the light that would be, perceived if it were actually going through it or if it were reflecting off of it? Because they said it also wasn't reflecting moonlight. I mean, it didn't do anything, and they were, I guess, more scared just because it was like pretty ominous, but nothing actually happened. Still a really cool and eerie sighting. Now, usually when we talk about UFOs and UFO abductions and people that experience these sightings, it comes with a little bit of lost time for that individual. They'll lose a couple of hours, sometimes just an hour, sometimes like a full 6 hours. Think of the Betty and Barney Hill abduction when they were on their way home, and then when they got home, it was so many hours later, and they don't know where that time went. Well, that's what this next story focuses on. Our next true UFO story is called The Missing Hour. Driving in the UK from a friend's dinner party, we set off at around 10 p.m. for a 15-minute drive home. There was myself, my wife in the front, and my 3 sons in the back of the car. We were driving near a USAF base in the southeast of England along a long, straight piece of road when there was an incredible flash that the wife and I noticed, and it seemed to wake up one of the elder sons in the back. He should have been around 12 at the time. Something, I have no idea what, flew with absolute silence over the car. I saw it, my wife saw it, and the son in the back, who was awakened by the flash, saw it. Something flew right over us, so close you could touch it, and it was big. We got home, discussed it a bit, and concluded the flash was a flare from the USAF base, and the large object that flew over us may well have been an Eurasian eagle owl. One had been spotted in this area. It was promptly forgotten. Fast forward just over a decade, and I and the son who was woken by the flash are talking about this weird event over dinner when the youngest son, who didn't wake up during the event, tells us how he remembered it happening. He recalled an event that was vastly different than ours. He had never told us this story before. He thought it was a dream until we started talking about it. He described how the car was stopped when we saw the flash. We weren't moving, and the low flying object sat on top of us for a few seconds, then flew off before the car started again. Apparently, I completely ignored this stop start and simply continued driving. Now, here's the really cool bit that we had never realized. My wife had made arrangements to call her sister when we arrived safely. We left around 10 p.m. for a 15-minute drive. My wife called her sister around 11:45 p.m. to say we had arrived home. I have no idea what happened that night. I was completely sober. My youngest son insists that something very odd happened. My wife is adamant that we took approximately 90 minutes to do a 15-minute drive. Her sister backs this up. I might not know what happened that night, but I am secure in the thought that something happened. And this comes from Polaris 3141 Throwaway. Wow, that was interesting. And that was a phenomenal case of missing time. I thoroughly enjoyed that story because oftentimes when there is missing time, the people missing the time don't remember the event in between. It usually takes some form of psychological or memory regression through a therapist to actually unlock those memories. However, it seems that this UFO or anomalous object that hovered over the car did something, did whatever it did that stopped the car in its place before allowing it to go again. That would have been that missing time that the dad, the wife, and the older son experienced. Yet it seems that the kids that were sleeping weren't affected. And so the younger one must have woken up while the events were happening and saw when they were frozen in this stasis where the car wasn't even running and realized when it picked up again. So the kid may have experienced portions of everyone else's missing time, which I find so intriguing and interesting. And then the fact that the wife and sister corroborate that time was missing and that it took X amount of time for them to place the phone call makes it even stranger. I want to hear your thoughts on these stories in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed because I know you already smashed that like. So make sure you check out those UFO videos, paranormal videos, reading Reddit videos because we do more Reddit readings than just UFOs and all the videos. Check out all the videos.